Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the City of Shelbyville Mayor and City Council Special Call Studies Session. It's about 4:45, and I want to call this meeting to order at this time. And our second item on the agenda is public comments. Do we have any?
No, sir.
Okay, no public comments tonight. Our third item and last item on the agenda for this afternoon, and we're glad to have Miss Ginger Branch from TLM Associates, and she's going to have her presentation. So, Ginger, we're going to turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. I got to meet a couple of you before the meeting. I'm Ginger with TLM. I'm an architect, and several months ago, we presented to the council a proposal to do a facility study of 3 of your existing buildings, as well as schematic concepts for new police and fire station 1 headquarters. The facility study is finished, and so I want to sort of review that with you. You have a copy of that at your seat. You also have a folder with the PowerPoint slides in it, and it has little lines where you can make notes, so that if there's something that sticks out to you that you want to ask. All of this information about the report is actually in the report. I'm trying to hit the highlights for you, so that if you don't have time to look through it immediately, I'm giving you the cliff notes of that. And then there's a little bit of information at the end of this presentation about police and fire station 1 headquarters. So I'll go ahead and jump in. Really what y'all tasked us to do was 2 items. 1, existing facility study for your existing city hall, your fire station 2, and your public works facility. And then again, the site selection and schematic design for the new police and fire station. When we looked at the existing facility studies, I really wanted to focus on some key components of the building. So this book is outlined in the same format for each facility. So when we looked at this, what we really wanted to do is say, yes, we know the city is talking about making an investment in new police station, new fire station 1, but city projects are not just for that one particular building. You have other pieces of your city infrastructure that we did not want to leave out from a funding body perspective, okay? So we're looking at things like the exterior materials, exterior doors and windows, your roof system, building security, interior conditions, ADA compliance, mechanical, electrical, plumbing conditions, and your site conditions. So I'm hitting just a snapshot of these things in this presentation. There's more detail in the book. Okay, so looking at City Hall. Also, I want to say before I get started, I am going to say things that are going to sound negative about your buildings. That's not that there's negative things about all your buildings. I'm trying to highlight some of the key components that I want to focus on, not that they're necessarily, they're old buildings. I mean, this is just general things that all public entities have to deal with, okay? So looking at City Hall, from the architectural perspective, we're looking at the building envelope. And when I say the building envelope, I'm talking about the exterior perimeter of the building. So your building functions really poorly when water is allowed to get in. So from a building perspective, if I can keep water out of a building, then my building is lasting longer, okay? So at City Hall, I wanted to focus on, where do I have problems with City Hall? The existing City Hall building has overhangs on the roof, so that is providing some protection to your exterior masonry. Just to hit a few highlights, there are areas on your masonry all across the building where we do need general cleaning, tuck pointing. You can see mildew, some cracked brick. There's control joints that are missing on the outside of the building. So your building is going to move, different materials are going to expand and contract at different rates. Typically about 4 foot off each building corner is where you want them. And around the building, if I look at the corners, that's where my vertical cracks are. It's not a structural failure. The building is not going to come down, but brick veneer, and you're going to hear me say this on the other two buildings as well, acts very similar to a pothole. We all know how that works. When water gets in there, freeze, thaw, expanding and contracting, I'm making voids in my masonry, and over time, that will lead to failure. Okay, so those are the things that I want to try to pinpoint on masonry building envelope areas. So again, drainage from your gutter system. I've got a picture of a gutter there that's got like 3, mismatched pieces all the way down to get the water off the roof. There is a railing on the back stair, or side stair, I guess you would say, that again, freeze thaw has happened at this penetration into the concrete and busted the concrete off. So that railing has to hold 250 pounds of pressure in any direction. And not only is one side of it coming out of the concrete, the other side is not anchored into the wall. So it's things like that that we want to make sure we're maintaining over time. Looking at exterior doors and windows, this is another component of your building envelope. So City Hall has all aluminum storefront doors and windows. I really prefer aluminum storefront on commercial buildings in a lot of applications because that does not have to be painted for building maintenance. That's something that's pre-finished, it does not rust, and it's a more durable building finish for maintenance cost. This system has been painted at some time, probably for just an upgrade look, and now my material that wasn't intended to be painted has now been painted, and now my paint's coming off. So, it just, the third picture is your main front door approach to the building. So, it just leads to things that don't look impressive over time. Also, all the windows at City Hall are single pane windows. So that is something that would be recommended for an improvement at City Hall, is to upgrade your window system. Roof is your first line of defense of your building envelope. So City Hall has actually, the roof membrane is a TPO, or it appears to be a TPO roof system. So this type of roof system is a membrane system. It comes in rolls. Your insulation is in between your roof structure and this roof membrane system. So your insulation is between those two. Anywhere I have wet areas or areas that are getting wet, if my insulation gets wet, my insulation is of no value. So I'm losing my insulating value if those areas are getting wet. I do have some areas of the City Hall that has some ponding, and you can sort of see some of the algae buildup that has been created on the roof. The actual membrane of the roof system is not in bad shape, but most of the terminations are in poor condition. So where you see like the middle picture on the bottom row, that's completely coming apart from the substrate. So that's an area where, again, I'm getting water potential into the building. Okay, this slide, there's a lot going on. You have more pictures in your book. Interior conditions. In this slide, I was trying to focus on building security, the interior conditions, in ADA. So I'm going to hit on the security first. This building, obviously, it's an open to the public building. You have a lot of foot traffic in and out of this building. It should be open to the public. What I don't like about this building is that if you're not seen by somebody, if the tellers are busy, if they're out of pocket for any reason, you can meander through this building sort of at will. You can end up in anyone's office. Everybody's office is immediately off the lobby. There is a separate entrance on the basement level, which building and codes used to be in, and that door, I think, stays unlocked most of the time. I don't know if that's completely accurate, but again, you're in the basement area. I know IT is down there, and the break room, bathroom, conference room. So again, public can come in, mill around the office without really being seen, or there's no security measures specifically for your tellers. So that's just an open counter. So those are things that we identify as not being sort of a norm for today's society. When we look at, I'm going to skip interior conditions and go to ADA. The biggest problem that I see at this facility that is a hard thing to resolve is ADA compliance. So the site is hard to resolve with ADA compliance. We have no compliant parking on your property. We have no compliant access from a parking spot to the front door. The easiest way for a handicapped person to park would be to park across the street and walk across the crosswalk, up the sidewalk to the front door, and that's not actually a compliant path. Once you're in the building, bathrooms, break rooms are not accessible to the main floor, and that not only is a problem for patrons that are coming in and out of the office, but it's also a problem for employees. So having employees that aren't able to function completely on the first floor, I do think is problematic. The only stair in between the floors is what you see off of the little stooped sidewalk that I showed you, the bad handrail. First, the basement level does have the main meeting room, although the hallway to the meeting room is actually out of compliance because you're traveling over 20 feet down a hallway with no exit. So that's considered a dead-end hallway. The building is not sprinkled. So using that for meetings, could be a little tricky whenever in your mind you're sort of thinking that could be where somebody that doesn't know the building could be meeting. And so if there was something to happen, they wouldn't know necessarily how to get out. The space in general, interior conditions of City Hall in general, it has some interior finishes updated. The lobby is nice, it's spacious, you have a nice volume. Those are definitely perks. But if you can see the first two pictures, there's people sharing offices. They're working out of boxes in their floor. There's storage in the office space. The entire basement, which I don't have pictures of in here or on this PowerPoint, the basement is full of storage. So just general workflow operation is very much hampered in this building. The basement bathrooms have been modified to be handicap compliant, although they're not 100% handicap compliant. And both of the counters, the main teller counter on the first floor and the teller counter desk on the basement level, both of those counters are out of compliance. So a handicapped person, would have a difficult time using those. Okay, I'm gonna try to go faster. In your book, now I know you can't read this. In your book, you're gonna come to these colored pages. My attempt at helping you decide how to spend money when the time comes is I try to prioritize what we found in each building, and I try to group things so that if you did it in phase 2, you weren't having to undo something in a future phase. So I made an attempt to put budgets together to the items that I've identified, as well as giving you a priority list, okay? So hypothetically, if you say, hey, we're going to spend $1 million on these 3 buildings next budget year, then you can at least draw a line at where that gets you in the top priorities with each building, okay? So these budgets are going to be 100% wrong because I've not designed anything. We are saying, hey, we think we're going to have to tear this out. This is what we think we're going to do to go back with that. This is a guide to help you sort of get your head around some potential costs with wherever the line gets drawn. Okay, does that make sense? So, and I've tried to just make a brief narration of what that budget would be doing. Okay. Okay, we're going to move on to Fire Station 2. Are y'all okay with that? Okay, Fire Station 2. I actually love this little building because it's a very mid-century vibe. But it's pulling up, I felt like it fit the area very well. It looked like it, was a great compliment to the little community that it's in. Fire Station 2, again, following the same protocol, working from the outside in with my building envelope. I have a lot of busted masonry at Fire Station 2. There's a lot of things that I would like to get repaired. Is letting water in. There's leaks on the inside, which you'll see on some interior photos, where it's just translating from the brick to the inside of the finish. So again, this is something that I would say needs to be cleaned. And then we do something called tuck pointing, and a masonry goes in and literally fills in every mortar joint, fills in the cracked brick, to try to get all of that as completely, impermeable from water as possible. So I'll try to give you just a snapshot of where some of those things are happening. And you can look at the front elevation, because this sort of tells you a little bit of the story. So my fire bays, which are on the left side of the front elevation, they have a higher roof, which you can see just a little bit behind it. That looks like that's all original structure. That's bar joist. It's a tectum deck and a roof system. The angled roof front on the front really hampers their garage door and getting the fire trucks in and out of the bays. If I'm not mistaken, y'all may have to order fire truck special order. Is this?
We did the last time.
So because they're so low, they are having a hard time getting trucks in and out. So that's something that nothing I'm going to tell you to do is going to fix, because I'm not going to tell you to raise the roof on a building. That's not possible. So there's things in all of these scenarios that are just sort of an impossible fix. That would be one of them looking at this. Okay, so there's the exterior doors and windows. So Fire Station 2 has got aluminum storefront on the front door and on the little glass fishbowl office space, as well as all of the windows around the facility. Okay, the front door and the little glass fishbowl office space, which you can really see better in this top right photo. Those appear to be original to the building. So by the way, Fire Station 2 was built about 1969, so it's 56 years old. Those appear to be original to the building. The rest of the windows around the perimeter have all been replaced. They're bronze aluminum storefront. Everything that's been replaced is double pane, so that's really good part. And the existing ones are single pane. So around the perimeter, looking at the ones that have been replaced, the perimeter sealant around that is all in fairly good shape. That would need to be monitored just to make sure that doesn't start cracking. It's, about 10 or 12 years, it starts to get a little dry and brittle. You have to just watch it. These hollow metal doors, there's a couple of them on the back of the building. All of these are rusted, so hollow metal has to stay painted. So aluminum, I was telling you, it was nice because it was maintenance friendly. You don't have to paint that. Hollow metal will rust, and it has to stay painted to protect it from the weather. So that layer of paint helps give it some protection from water. Again, water into my building elements really is, things go downhill, and it doesn't happen immediately. You don't really notice it until it's in bad shape. So this door, the window is rusted, the seal is rusted. Just beyond this is their kitchen area. There's water intrusion on the masonry walls on the inside. So those are things that I would want to get fixed to get the water stopped. All of the doors at Fire Station 2 have a threshold that you have to step up into. So while City Hall, to me, is very urgent that the ADA compliance is an issue, Fire Station 2, while it's a city building, it should 100% be compliant, is less of a stress to me. So I've made that a further down recommendation in the priorities, because this is not their main office. Fire Station 1 is their main office. So if I am a fireman and I'm on light duty for some reason, I'm probably not going to be at Station 2. Station 2 needs to be able-bodied firemen. I've left it lower down on the priorities, but still a public building. We do need to get ADA compliance fixed for that building as well. Okay, the roof at Fire Station 2 is a bit of a mystery to me. I'm not going to tell you a lie. I think this is an overframed roof over the original roof. It appears that way. It is all metal. All of the metal is actually in fairly good condition. I was a little shocked whenever, we looked at it, but, there are penetrations and your, transition between high and low roofs or transition at, any of the penetrations, those do need to be watched. There's could be like a level of maintenance on the roof that could happen before a new roof is put on. But the soffit of this building, the little wedge pieces between the brick and this roof system don't appear to be original to the design, but there was really no way for me to check that because this building has hard ceilings. It's not this kind of ceiling for us to get it in. So we couldn't really check that, but it does look like it's been overframed at some point. Okay. Interior conditions. Okay, we're going from bad to worse. So this building is a house, but it's also a commercial building. So it's really hard to think about a house having to stand up to 24-hour a day, 365 day a year use. Fire stations are one of those buildings that have to do that. This building was built in the 60s. I'm certain these kitchen cabinets are original. You can see some of the discoloration from water damage or from some sort of damage on the inside of by the kitchen sink. The countertops have been replaced. I mean, they're doing the best they can with what they have. It's just they're limping along because that's what they're used to doing. The bathrooms, you have one bathroom. It has 2 lavatories, a urinal, a toilet on one side, lockers on the other, 1 or 2 showers, no door in the back of the bathroom. One side of the shower they're using to actually shower. The other side is sort of their supply closet. So being able to separate men and women situations in the bathroom is an impossibility at this facility. They have gone in on the bunk side of this building. So originally, you walked through a door, you were in a bunk room. They have actually divided their bunk room into 4 private bedrooms, so that they can have some separation for men and women in the bunk areas, but we don't have that separation in the bathroom. Also, the front door of this building opens directly into their day room, which for firefighters, that is their living room. That is their lounge space. But that's also their public entrance. So the public has to come up a step into their living room and then into the little fishbowl that I called it, room where the windows are. If there's a report to file or anything that needs to be done, they try to get them into that space. That room, because of all the windows and because they're single pane, that room either stays really hot or really cold. They don't like to work in there because it's just a hard place to keep conditioned. Fluorescent lights, you can see the various colors. Those, I guess, probably are T8s. I think they're probably T8s. No LED lighting, obviously. So, just energy usage is more at this building. And then the second picture on the bottom is the interior of the kitchen where I showed you a crack on the masonry. And so, I mean, it's just like, let's just paint over it because we're trying to cover it up. And that just it's not going to last because the water is trying to find the path of least resistance, and bubbling up the paint is typically the path of least resistance. Okay. Fire station budget, same thing. Okay, I've tried to go through and identify, if you're going to spend money, where are the priorities that I would tell you today. Also, these priorities could change every year. Okay, so something that might not be leaking today, next year, if you're spending a lot of maintenance money on that, then that's where you need to move that up the list. The idea is let's get this stuff repaired correctly so that we're not constantly spending maintenance dollars on a continued problem. Okay. Oh, okay. We really did go from better to worse on this. I said that out loud. I didn't really realize I'd done it. Okay, so when we started looking at buildings, my priority was really to give you budgets for maintenance money. I mean, that's really what I wanted to give you, something where you can make decisions on maintenance. Public Works was on my list. I did not have a lot of expectations for Public Works. I mean, it's a functional maintenance building. I mean, like, this is not something I'm looking at being attractive at all. So I wasn't overly concerned about it. When I got there, I become a little bit more concerned, um, because first of all, we have multiple buildings on this site. Okay, there's a lot of activity. There is a lot of heavy equipment. There's a lot of material storage. And you're just sort of, once you're in the gate, as a public person, you're just in the gate with all of that. Okay, so if I drive through the gate to get to the office building, which is up here on the top right, I could just, again, it's sort of like City Hall, I could meander all through the site, and not really know where I was going and get in the way, probably pretty quick. That was one thing that I noticed when I got there, was that how crowded this site felt. Okay, so going back to our little conversation on how masonry works with water. This building has seen a lot of water. There is, I don't know if there's a wall I looked at that did not have cracks. Typically, okay, this building is a concrete block building. This appears to all be 8-inch concrete block. So this is all about 16-foot height, roughly. So typical construction, if we were going to build this today, we would probably use 8-inch concrete block. That's not a big deal. Painted, I mean, this is a functional maintenance building. The thing that's really different is we would be putting rebar from the foundation up the walls. We would be tying the rebar. Certain cells of the CME walls would be grouted solid. Okay, so we're pouring a concrete mix in the cell with the rebar, so everything's tied from the foundation all the way up to the bar joists. The bar joists are anchored into the top of the concrete block wall. I also have horizontal brick ties. So I have these ladder trusses that are running horizontally in every other course that are locking my brick together. I have no idea if that's in this building or not, but there is one photo, the first one to the left, that is at a garage door opening that has been hit by something and knocked out. If there's anything on this building I would expect to be grouted solid, it would be at a garage door opening on the corner, okay? So the fact that I don't see that there does give me concern. Okay, I've got lots of water intrusion, lots of cracking. The smaller picture on the top, third row over, well, it's actually blown up in the next picture. That is the connector for on both sides of this main building, there's two flanking little shed roof overhangs where they've got outdoor things stored, tractors, trailers, all sorts of stuff. So that's like a little shed roof. Those have been anchored into the, I'm assuming, not reinforced block wall. At some point, those are through bolts through the block, and you can see some of the step cracking that's causing, because now I've added that force to that block wall that wasn't really originally designed for that. Okay, so again, it's bad. It's really surprising. I wasn't expecting it to be, the masonry to be this bad. So, doors, windows, all the windows are steel frame, original, single pane windows. I don't overly care about that in this building because I don't have a conditioned space. So while that does need to be something that's safe, like I would rather have tempered glass, I would like to know that that's tempered glass in case somebody accidentally gets an arm through it or something. I'd like for it to just fall out. I don't really care that it's not insulated because my building is not conditioned. But I'm just trying to document so y'all know what you have. Some of them are boarded up, some of them are busted. And the busted ones, obviously, it can let, I mean, like we could get birds, critters. Again, it's a garage building. I'm not sure that's the end of the world, but it is what you have. Roof and site drainage. So I expected to get on the roof and find that the top of the wall, so your roof goes up to the edge of your brick wall, and then there's a coping that fits over that. I was expecting that coping to be lifted up and my roofing to be pulled back enough that the top of the wall was exposed. It wasn't, which tells me that the roof has sometime been replaced at some point, in maybe the last 8 or 10 years, I don't know, it doesn't look brand new, but long enough to know that this water problem has been going on for probably over a decade. It's not something that's new. It's not something that's just started. This is long-term effects of water. So there's not really any equipment in this building as far as HVAC equipment. So my roof is pretty single plane. No, very few penetrations. I got a few exhaust vent penetrations. But my site drainage, I stuck that on here. The other projects, I didn't really talk about site because City Hall and Fire Station 2, my real issues are ADA. Those are my big problems at City Hall and Fire Station 2. Public Works, I've got a lot of drainage issues around the site. So the front drive parking, I mean, this is your public entrance. I guess that's where I park. That was my public entrance when I pulled up, where you've got all kinds of stuff going on at the front of the building. That doesn't drain well. I've got catch basins that are full that aren't draining. I've got some that have collapsed. Obviously, those aren't working. So lots of site issues. Again, I've got a lot of heavy equipment on this property. So those things, those structures under the gravel need to be vehicle traffic rated. Okay. Interior of the building. So this one I pointed out on the first slide. The office at some point has come out of the warehouse space and it's in a mobile home facility, okay? So I look at that aspect of this project or this facility only from an interior condition. There is a ramp outside the office space. The slope on the ramp does not meet compliance. So it's an attempt at ADA, and somebody in a wheelchair more than likely could get up that ramp, but it really isn't compliant. The office space in the mobile home area is not, there's nothing compliant there. Obviously, it's a house. It wasn't intended to be compliant. The bathroom, the kitchen is shared with an office. It seems to have a lot of general storage office space needs. That it looks like that they've just got several people sitting in that space, multiple people sitting in that space using that office. Otherwise, it was very, I mean, like outside of it, it presents nice. I mean, it's not falling apart. It looks like an office. You feel like that's probably where you should go when you pull up. It's just not overly, I mean, you're back in the gate, so it's not overly obvious whenever you pull up on site. The warehouse building, again, I'm less concerned over the appearance of that. It is a functional utilitarian building, but I do want to know the bathroom is not compliant. The warehouse area is sort of a step above the barn. It does not have air conditioning. It does not have ventilation. It only has unit heaters, and it barely has plumbing. They are using it, all of it, very well. It has been used very well for a long time. That building is actually 76 years old, the best I can tell. I believe it was built in 1949. That sort of surprised me. I wasn't expecting it to be that old before I looked that up. So this one to me was, I guess, the most surprising in what I looked at the day that we went to visit. Okay, same thing for Public Works. I've given you budgets. And if you look on like the third or so page of your book, toward the beginning, there is this overall summary spreadsheet. Go back to the front and then flip maybe 3 pages or so in.
Page 5.
Page 5, thank you. Lisa's got us on target. So what I try to do is I try to summarize. Here is, now Lisa has given me some replacement values, okay? I don't really know, I guess that's insurance.
It's insurance, and the property was all reappraised 1 year and a half ago.
Okay.
So at that time, of course, I know that's changed.
So those are insurance numbers, just so y'all know where that came from. But I try to tally the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5. And just so you know, again, I'm working these priorities from exterior building components to interior finishes. Okay, so obviously I don't really care about replacing flooring or paint if I've got water coming into the building. So interior upgrades is priority 4. I'm working on the other more critical aspects of your building envelope in the first phases, as well as ADA compliance. So here's a little snapshot of where this report leaves you from a budget standpoint. Okay. I'm going to see if y'all have questions on that. I know that was a lot of information, a lot of information for the first time.
Based on the city our size, are all their buildings like ours, this?
Yes.
In
So
what
like,
cases?
I'm just going to tell you, like, this is hands down the biggest problem across the board. Schools, municipals, it really doesn't matter. People have a hard time spending money on maintenance because you're handling it yourself. A lot of times it's like somebody go paint something that's rusted because it looks bad. And so in your mind, you put some money toward paint or replacing ceiling tiles in a room where they're all spotted and damaged. But really the problem is fixing the roof. And nobody wants to spend money. I mean, like, let's just be honest. Replacing a roof is super expensive. So like it all comes down to dollars. And so being able to figure out how to tackle that's one reason why I think that these reports are helpful, because you can prioritize, hey, we can only spend $500,000 for the maintenance this year, or $1 million, or whatever your number is. It really helps you sort of pinpoint what that gets you to some degree. Again, I'm trying to give you the best numbers I can for right now. So yes, to answer your question, Mayor, it's very normal. It's very common. Y'all are not at all worst case scenarios, but it's something that with new police and fire, you can't say, well, we're going to sink all this money in police and fire and forget the rest of this stuff because we're using all of our money here. It's something that you don't need to ignore, because I'm just going to tell you, if Fire Station 2 and City Hall keeps getting kicked, then it's going to end up, Public Works is in bad shape. Like, I'm just going to tell you, that masonry is terrible. It's not the worst I've ever seen. I don't think it's going to fall down tomorrow or anything like that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it doesn't need to be ignored. It's a problem that's not going to get better. So it's something that you just need to plan. It's a planning tool. Yes, sir.
I have a question. The masonry, you're talking about the building. Does that age masonry deteriorates? Is it worth the expense to repair?
So it is a terrible, expensive thing to repair. So Public Works, the one thing that sort of stuck out to me was how the site felt very cramped. There was a lot of activity on the site. You know, you have like material bins. There's not a lot of room to move. It looked like they had makeshift, some other covered storage areas. There was stuff that was still sitting out, not covered. So I guess I think that's a question of more that needs more thought of, do we need to put this much money into this building, or is there another option? And I don't know that answer.
Be a new building.
So it definitely gives you some food for thought. It's hard. It's not easy decisions, especially when it's that much money. But okay, I have much less information on this part, so I'm going to scoot through this, and then if there's more questions, then I just don't want to go over y'all's time. Okay. So Police and Fire Station 1. Okay, so we were also tasked with looking at property possibilities as well as schematic design for Police and Fire Station 1. So we have done a good bit of work on this, and I just want to sort of give you in a snapshot some of the earlier conversations that we've had for property, just so you know sort of why we ended up where we did. Okay, so one of the first properties that we looked at was I'm calling it the ballpark property. This is sort of by the First Baptist Church, am I right, Chief? Okay, so everybody knows where this is. Okay, so we looked at this as like a great location. Calvary.
They're not gonna sell it.
Oh,
Okay. Said it too high for us.
okay, this is just where we started. This was like how our conversations, I'm just sort of bringing you back around the circle. Okay, so this one was the first property that we looked at. We thought it sat great. We liked its location. It was in a good spot for the fire station's ISO. It was big enough to get a police and a fire station on it, which we really liked. At that time, we were looking at police and fire in two separate buildings. So the bigger building that you see on the left of this screen, so these two layouts are both on that property. They are in two different spots because traffic for the fire trucks coming out of this property was a little bit problematic, so we looked at two different ways to position this building. But we had a police, we had a fire, they were separated, but they were on the same property. Then this one just become it was too expensive and traffic was still not great, so we nixed that idea. Okay, then we went to what I'm calling the Dairy Queen. These are my terms for the Dairy Queen property. So I think y'all will know where this is. This is just down the hill from Dairy Queen, and this is actually almost directly adjacent to one of the locations for the ball field property. But this was just fire. Okay, so we locked this property. It only would work if we completely separated fire and police entirely. So police would have to have another location. We looked at this, we looked at traffic flow. This intersection, I think if I'm remembering right, was better, Chief, for the fire trucks, but not optimal. So we looked at this one, and I think that we decided with police and fire being separated, we weren't overly a fan. So we put that one on the back burner. Then we looked at what I'm calling the housing authority property. This one is sort of, I think in the top left corner, I think that's, I want to say it's an Exxon, but I'm certain it's a gas station. I'm pretty sure that's a gas station. But this ran along a ditch. We weren't a fan of that. This, again, only accommodated the fire station. So I think that this one just I think the housing authority had other plans for this property. It wasn't really a viable candidate after we had looked at it for a few minutes. And then we went to what I'm calling the library property. This one we looked at, we could get both police and fire on this property. It was adjacent to the library. It was adjacent to your public utility. It was next to the Fly building. Is it the Fly? The Fly building. We really liked this location. It was just off the square. It was still good for the fire department's ISO location. And so we sort of honed in on this one because this one would give us enough space to put police and fire on the same piece of property. So this was the one that we sort of started locking as our first choice. One thing that we liked about this is it did sort of go off down a hill, which allowed us to maneuver fire trucks in a lower area with the garage and be able to use the topographical arrangement that was there to our benefit for the building layout. So we did go and did try to spend some time looking at other facilities where police and fire were together. So right at a year ago, I believe it was, we went to St. Louis to a conference for police and fire station design. We took somebody from your police, somebody from your fire, went to this conference, sort of was able to talk to other people that were in the same process of building. We toured two facilities that are on the bottom photos while we were there at that conference, and really looked at sort of how they had their arrangement with the police and fire together. The top photos, the one on the far left is Cookville. That is a police only. So we went with your police department to Cookville, toured that building, really talked to them about pros and cons of their building, program. How they sort of spun it, in their community to be positive, all those things. And then the two pictures on the right is Maryville, Tennessee, and that is a police fire city hall. But we really focused on the police fire side, and then I got the fire station on the far right of the photo. So we went and toured these buildings with your people and really sort of talked through pros and cons, looking at not just what y'all needed to do, but what others were needing to do that would sort of help, be open-minded about new facilities. It's really hard to think outside of what you normally do. And so building a new facility is not something to take lightly. It's a lot of money. It's a big investment. It needs to last 75 years. And it's hard to project what that future is going to be. How do you best build this for 75 years when you're working in a facility that is so antiquated as your current police and fire stations? And if y'all have not been to your existing police and fire stations, another town that I'm working with, we actually set up tours with our council people and opened it up to the public to be able to walk through, because spending public money is a big deal. And it's not something that y'all probably get faced with that where people think that you're being flippant on decisions. But it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of research, and going through the buildings and being able to look at what they're working out of for a town the size of Shelbyville is pretty surprising. So if you haven't done that, I encourage you to do it. I think that they would totally be open to having y'all come through. But we did try to do homework to try to really open our minds to what is best for the future of the Shelbyville buildings. We went back to this library site and have started playing with layouts on that. All this gibberish to the right is irrelevant for you to read, but that is every single room that we've identified that needs to be in the building. It tells us the appropriate square footage that's needed, the adjacencies that it's needed to be by. So, I need my Sally port close to where evidence is coming in. Things like that, like things that when we're going through other buildings, police and fire have sort of given me this list. They've given me their written list of here's the things that we need. Here are appropriate sizes. We're helping them size things. And then we're helping and working together to make sure that we've got things where they need to be so that the building functions at its optimal capacity, functionality, things like that, so that people that are working side by side are adjacent to each other. And then we've started new concepts for police and fire. So what we are looking at right now is really somewhat of a split level building, and that has to do with this building site. Again, working with your building site. That might make you cringe a little bit, because I would say your existing city hall is a split level. So saying that out loud probably does give you anxiety, because we've got trouble with that. This building will be completely ADA compliant. All of those things will be resolved in this building. Elevators, all the things, working through public to very private, where you may be bringing prisoners in, completely separating fire. These are two different entities. They're sharing a building, so that things that overlap, training spaces, workout rooms, things that need to be in this facility are getting shared, and we're not building those support spaces twice. Okay, so this is much more developed in my office, but I'm in the process of meeting with these groups on that, so I don't want to go into too much detail without their blessing, because I don't want to show y'all something and then us change it. So this will be finalized, schematics will be finalized for another presentation with y'all June, around June 15th, whatever timing in there works with your meetings. I'll coordinate that with Scott, and we'll get that set up to come back and present schematics on that, which will be floor plans, site plan, floor plans, elevations. Okay. So, questions? Is that how much time I went over?
No, it's up to you.
No,
Okay.
You're good.
Okay, good. I already told them while we were sitting in here, I'm like, I'm probably the only person that's gonna be really excited about looking at these nasty photos, but, I do have a passion for trying to maintain buildings because everybody struggles with it. Everybody struggles with it.
You have an idea, Ginger, of, I know that we need to start funding on a lot of different things, our flume and saving money for the flume and saving money for these facilities. I don't think that's been done in the past. I didn't see that on budget where they've been putting money back each year for any of these things. What other cities, are they, have they got funds that they're putting aside for these things, looking toward the future?
So the closest city that I have that is almost an exact same carbon copy of what y'all are looking at doing is the city of Paris. And I know Scott knows the city manager there. They are, we have a maintenance plan with them, so they also have a book, like that sort of outlines all the other buildings that are on their list, but we are also doing a new police, new fire, new city hall for them. They are getting rural development money, for the funding of those 3 projects. Their maintenance projects, they're trying to establish a annual maintenance budget to tackle those things. The new construction is coming from the rural development funds.
Right. Their population cut off on the rural development fund, so.
I don't think there is. I don't think that y'all are above that. I can double check that with rural development. We have a new state director as of this week, maybe last week. And she's actually from West Tennessee, so I know her very well. Our new rural development state director.
Council, do we still have options on that property? Most of that property?
We just talked to folks.
Ballpark, what we're looking at to be able to do this?
Police and fire. Where I sit today, I would tell you 25 million. That is so, okay, how this would work is I'm gonna finish schematics. When I finish schematics, I'm gonna actually give you a budget that I don't have right now. So I'm guessing what my budget's gonna be. So I'm gonna go through and budget what I think that we're gonna be doing for all the things. The structure, the mechanical, the electrical, everything is gonna be a ginger budget, okay? A ginger French budget, not a ginger chocolate budget. So I'm gonna give you my best guess of what schematics are gonna be. Okay, then that's gonna sit, and when y'all are like, okay, let's figure this out, let's move on to the next phase. There's gonna be 2 more budgets for me. I go through design phases. So the next phase, I would be getting the engineers involved. So that's when my structural guy is gonna come and he's gonna lay out his grid. My mechanical guy, we're gonna be picking mechanical systems, how many units I'm gonna have, where those are gonna sit, you know, my electrical components, my electrical feeds, where stuff is coming into the building, how much am I digging into this ground to get anything done. All of those things are going to be identified better in the next phase. At that phase, all of those people are going to give me their budgets. So my electrical guy is going to say, this is how much I think my electrical is going to be. So then I'm getting more fine-tuned. Then once we pass that phase, we go into construction documents, and then I'm really just drawing a bunch of details so that somebody can build this. So you're going to get 2 more budgets after schematics. You're going to get 2 more budgets for me before it bids. Okay, so at the end of the next phase, if I'm telling you, if I hypothetically say 25 million for schematics, and then we get to the next phase and we're at 27 million, okay, then I'm going to start either identifying things that we need to take stuff out of, where can I cut cost, or you're going to be like, don't cut anything, this is perfect, we're going to find $2 more million. I mean, it's going to be one or the other, okay? More than likely, I'm going to be cutting stuff because there's not somebody printing money, I'm pretty sure, in Shelbyville that we can use. That's totally normal. if there's something that at the end of the next phase, if I feel like that I'm gonna be over, I'm gonna start identifying things that we can bid as alternates. Okay, so I'm gonna put everything in my bid for the day that we open bids, and then I'm gonna have alternate deducts. So if we're over, then you can go through and pick, here's what we're getting, here's what we're gonna get credited for if we reduce this. Here's the money we're gonna save if we reduce this, and then you're gonna get to pick, here's our priorities. It's a bigger deal for us to have a courtroom that looks really nice than, I mean, like, it's just, we're gonna have to make decisions. But I'm gonna help you identify that.
You're the grant guru. Is there any money gonna be available, do you think, of this 25 million besides our own funds? In which case, we'd have to do
So- Getting money for building facilities, for public safety things is not overly easy to do. I can get money for gym equipment. I can get money for maybe some of the police storage for evidence. Maybe we can get, like some pieces of grants, but like as far as the actual building construction, those don't come along very often. And it's new construction. It is in the downtown. There could be something available for that. Right now, I don't know of anything.
So we'd be looking at a long-term. So, and what kind of rates now? I know rates are up, so.
So,
Is there any federal money, is there any?
So rural development, don't quote me on this, don't write this down. I think they're currently at 3.75 for 40 years. Of course, they do their rates every quarter. Their deal, rural development's deal is if you lock in at 3.75, by the time you get ready to do the project, if it's gone to 4.25, then you're locked in at 3.75. If it goes to 3.5, then they will reduce it down to the lower rate.
So you can't.
I mean, I do a lot of rural development projects. I mean, you're not going to get a 3.75 rate from a bank. You would have to set up interim financing. So, you would have to, somebody locally could set up your interim financing to, for you to use local money until the rural development money pays. I think I'm telling you right on all of that.
Thank you.
On new construction, we're still looking for properties that might be acceptable, police department, fire department. You guys know exactly where you have to be located and all those kind of things.
Yes, sir. We started it off at the fire department with an MTAS study that everybody here has seen at some point, to locate, right around the locate areas and give a feasibility for that. The property that we have located and that we've had, I guess, head nod and handshake deals, the most suitable, I guess, feasible, kind of the best, down the middle of the road was the library property. So, in which city owns quite a portion of it already. Our city partners on the other side of the square own a lot of it, and we only have 2 individuals that own portions of it, and I know one of them is still very much interested in doing the deal, and I speak to 80% that the second will be taken.
Chief Phillips, you feel the same way? That property is probably. Anyone else have any questions for Ginger? Good job, Ginger. Thank you so much for
I
coming.
didn't mean to take the ball.
Well, our next meeting is running 5 minutes late, so we've got a little extra time perhaps, national traffic showcase. One question for the mayor of the city council. Where do you want us to go from here? What do you want to say? Working on moving forward.
My recommendation immediately was find the property, get the property located, then we can start talking about the building, what kind of building we're gonna have there.
We got it, okay.
Yeah, property is a big thing, I mean, you got to know where it's gonna be.
So are you saying bring back a?
That's my personal opinion, what's the rest of the
Can't do
council?
nothing till you got the property.
Sir,
Can't do a thing till we got a piece of property.
that's right.
We're just spinning our tires and talking, it's all
Bring
right.
information on the property at the June meeting.
Anybody else?
Yes.
It's a big investment, but we need to do it. I mean, somebody's got to bite the
What we
bullet,
gotta do,
and this council might as well be doing it.
it's time, it's past time.
I think the
Everybody
longer
agree?
you wait, though, the more it's gonna cost too.
Right.
So with construction costs increasing like they are, if we put it off another 4 or 5 years or whatever, it's just gonna be
Yeah.
way more than what if we put it now.
And if we're wise, we have plenty of time, we can recoup some of our money with the property. If we want to sell the old fire station, city hall, you know, we can always look at how much we can recoup some.
And when we get that exact piece of property and how the, entrance and exit's gonna be, then Ginger and her team can work on a little bit more on what size building we have and where it faces. Of course, they'll be working with our fire chief and our police chief to see exactly how that all works out. Any other questions? All right, thank you again, Ginger, for coming there.
Thank you all.
Yeah. Just missing Mr. Christie. And Scott, our city manager.
I need Mr. Creed, we're going to be.
Nicholas is Higgs, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, he got the scholarship, didn't
I read
Hey, look, Sharp.
Congratulations, he wrote the essay. I want to read your essay sometime.
You got William coming?
They have a certain topic or did you?
William here?
They just don't write on. They have to write on. Civics essay, the state of the Secretary of Tennessee designates what they see right and see. Well, that was a huge honor.
All right,
I saw you
folks.
in the papers.
This is a very important occasion, and we have two proclamations tonight. But first of all, I want to ask Mr. Nicholas Higgs to step forward right here in front. Nicholas, right there. Thank you, sir. And your mom and dad, if you'd come up and join him. We have a proclamation by the mayor of Shelbyville, Tennessee, and this would be the city council too. The city of Shelbyville, whereas Nicholas Higgs is a first grade student at Thomas Magnet School, and whereas Nicholas Higgs wrote an essay to be entered in the 2025 Tennessee Civics Essay Contest with the Tennessee Secretary of State, whereas a total of 4,356 students grades K through 12 participated in this program with a total of 12 winners out of 4,356 in 4 grade categories, whereas Nicholas Higgs placed second in his age group of K through 2, second grade, making him the youngest student from Shelbyville to ever place in this contest since its inception in 2016. And whereas Nicholas Higgs did receive a $250 Tennessee Stars 529 College Savings Program scholarship and a trip to the state capitol. I think I saw some pictures on that.
Yep.
Whereas it is fitting and proper that the city of Shelbyville recognizes Nicholas Higgs for his significant accomplishment as one of the youngest students to enter and win this contest. Now, therefore, I, Randy Carroll, as mayor of the city of Shelbyville, do hereby recognize Nicholas Higgs and present him with this proclamation of the city of Shelbyville, in witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of Shelbyville to be affixed. I'm going to come out so we can take pictures. Let's give him applause.
And everybody, I just want to say.
What an honor to meet Nicholas Higgs.
You want to turn around?
What would you like, Miss Lisa?
And you'll stay in right there. In the middle. You stand right here.
There you go.
Let me see if the mayor can get this button.
Let me get on camera.
All right. You want me on this side? Is this okay?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get this proclamation. You want one side of it, can you?
There you go.
One side of it?
There you go.
How's that?
Doing ourselves.
Let me get one with shaking his hand. Is that okay? Can we do that?
Yeah, because they damn his mouth, you stand on it. There you go. There you go. There you go.
We could have just.
Good job.
Good job.
Good job. Now, let's say it. Thank you.
What do you think?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
No, I got it.
It's an honor to meet you.
Yeah, that really. Thank y'all for coming.
We have another proclamation tonight, if I can have your attention. This is very well deserved too. This company, Goodwill, has done so much to help people in need. And we have a proclamation tonight of the city of Shelbyville. I'm going to ask Ms. Carter if she would stand. She's a representative of Goodwill tonight, and we're glad to have her. By this proclamation, we are designating May the 5th through the 9th, 2025 as Goodwill Week. Goodwill's North America nonprofit provider, career services, providing jobs for people, and provides opportunities, people with disabilities, disadvantages, all across the nation. Whereas Goodwill Industries of Middle Tennessee has been an integral part of the city of Shelbyville's community, providing invaluable services in the realms of education, job training, employment services, and other community-based programs for people who have barriers preventing them from otherwise obtaining a job, helping them to get across those barriers. We appreciate that. The mission of changing lives through education, training, and employment aligns with the city of Shelbyville's commitment to fostering a community that supports inclusivity, sustainability, economic opportunity for all the residents. So we are celebrating, I'll say now, therefore, I, Randy Carroll, Mayor of Shelbyville, do hereby proclaim May the 5th through the 11th, 2020. Yeah, it's got 24 on it, but we'll get that changed. 2025 as Goodwill Week in Shelbyville, and encourage all citizens to recognize the notable contributions that Goodwill Industries of Middle Tennessee makes to our community's economic vitality and social welfare. I further encourage Shelbyville's residents to support Goodwill's mission by donating gently used goods and shopping at Goodwill stores, and participating in Goodwill's free job training and education programs, thereby contributing to the circular economy and the betterment of our community. Witness this day, April the 29th, 2025. Congratulations.
Thank you.
No, that's just it. Yeah, just.
You, Carter, which side you want in? Okay. Can we have, on the second picture, can we get the city council come up here behind us, please? Everybody works together, if you don't mind. Can you hold us this? Is this okay?
Sir.
Okay.
We gotta go, Steve.
All city council, please get up here. Y'all can get in front of me. Don't get in front of Ms. Carter. Get through it.
Maryland's gonna have.
Get up there, Marilyn. Okay.
You always stay by.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, next deal.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Carter.
Thanks, y'all.
Y'all need to do it, huh?
Thank you.
Ugly boys in the back.
Yeah. What do you have, about 6:10 on my watch? And we are here at April 29th, and I will call this meeting to order, and I'll ask for a roll call on this particular meeting.
Councilmember Feldhouse. Councilmember Ewing. Here. Councilmember Noel. Here. Councilmember Christie.
Here.
Councilmember Blevins.
Here.
Councilmember Turnbull.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, you do have a quorum, all members are present.
Thank you so much. At this time, we'll ask if everybody has a copy of the agenda. I hope you have. we'll ask for a motion to approve or to adopt the agenda for this special call meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
Second.
okay, thank you. All right. I'll ask for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? No. All right, business items. This is what we're about to conduct, this item for this special call meeting. It's consideration of a motion to approve amendment number 4 for professional services between the city of Shelbyville and Neil Schaefer Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $40,000 for right-of-way services on the Greenway Riverwalk Trail System and River Overlook Project. And we have a guest with us if they would need to for questions and things, or how do we do this, Scott? Are they going to make a presentation? Okay. Good evening.
I can do it, whatever Scott needs me to do, so.
Okay.
You'll,
And your name, you're from Neil Schaefer,
so I'm
correct?
Whitney Summers, yes, I'm from Neil Schaefer
Thank you,
Engineering.
Ms. Summers, okay. Go right ahead.
And thank you guys for pivoting for me, maybe not all from you, but being flexible with your schedule, so I appreciate you. Scott, feel free to interject at any time. I am with Neil Schaefer Engineering. I haven't seen you guys in quite a while now. We've been busy working on the Overlook project, which we're really excited to work with you guys on. When we started this a few years ago, we tried our hardest to thread a needle to not make the city acquire any right of way for this project because, real estate's quite expensive, as we're all aware. And once we started doing some engineering and had some survey completed on the project, it was discovered that I'm not going to get too deep with you, but we had to kind of thread a needle with staying out of the ordinary high water mark, which means if you get below that, you have to have lots of permits that could be very costly and timely. And then we also had to avoid a sewer line, meaning we couldn't build on top of a sewer line. We had to make sure the project was 5 feet on either side of the sewer line. And then we also were trying to not, get encroach on any privately owned property. So with all of that said, we were able to, really, refine the Overlook and Greenway limits to where we think that we'll only have to acquire about 1,000 square feet, less than 1,000 square feet of property. So because of that, that was kind of an unknown until this came up where we had to actually think about acquiring privately owned property. And so here we are. And so with the project now, there will be 1 tract of property that will have to go through. It's called the Uniform Relocation Act. It's a federally mandated process through the federal government that TDOT oversees. So this is a TDOT oversight project. So the federal government requires these guidelines to be followed. And in a nutshell, that means just compensation has to be offered, an appraisal has to be done, and a negotiation period has to happen with a privately owned, with these property owners to make sure that, they're heard, what their expectations are heard, and none of the Uniform Relocation Act rules, which there are a bunch of them, but none of those are violated. And so there are quite a few firms in Tennessee that are able to very successfully do this type of process, go through this right-of-way process. And so the firm that we like to use here in Tennessee, they're called OR Colon. And so our firm, we're an engineering firm. We do not mess with purchasing property. So we actually have a firm called OR Colon that we've added to this team for the Overlook project that will, that they've got a great track record of doing this type of work. And so if you've seen the amendment that might be in front of you, there is a $40,000 do not exceed amount on there. You might see that there are 2 tracks. I don't know if you noticed that, but it says there, could be 2 tracks. There could be an appraisal and acquisition for. That is because there is the county property there that's adjacent to the property owner. That we might have to actually end up appraising that property as well. Because there is part of the greenway that goes across the county's property. So that's why you see 2 tracks. And then you'll also see the number 5 beside title reports, because there are actually 5 separately deeded tracts of property that OR Colon will have to revise those deeds to make sure they're filed properly at the courthouse. So in a nutshell, that's what that entails. And so you'll have about 5 different licensed appraisers in Tennessee that will touch this project. You'll have an appraiser, you'll have a review appraiser, you'll have a negotiator, you'll have a closing agent, and then you'll have a manager kind of overseeing all of that. And so we'll manage that for you to make sure all that paperwork's happening appropriately. And we'll have monthly meetings. We have been having monthly meetings. We'll continue to do those to make sure that's done very timely. So that's it. Maybe more than you wanted to know, but I did want to explain what that was all about. So Scott, Mayor, I don't know if you want me to add anything.
Very good explanation and of all of the things that we've got involved here. My question would be to our city manager. We're doing a lot of this Riverwalk and trail system through grant. Would this be covered under the grant at all?
No, sir. This would be considered pre-construction, which is not covered under the 80/20.
Okay. And $40,000 is an estimate, or is, okay, so it could be less? You don't think it'll be more?
We have a do not exceed on it, so.
Okay. Questions, city council?
There's a paragraph in here about condemnation. It says not part of this proposal. If the property owner does not accept our offer, do we have to pay over the 40,000 to get to condemnation?
That's a very good question. And yes, if we do have to go through condemnation procedures, then there's a couple big avenues that we could take there. So we would have to make that decision there. What are we doing? Are we able to negotiate out of court, or we have to go to court? So there's lots of things that could happen there. Hopefully we will not have to go to condemnation.
But the 40,000 is not guaranteed for that.
No, sir, it's not included in that number. You're correct. No, sir.
We have an option to decline this if we want to.
Yes, sir.
What does that do to the overall project?
You will have to have, to move forward, you will have to acquire property in order to get to construction. And so if you decline this now, I don't think it wouldn't hurt our timeline right now. However, we're anticipating that we would be ready to start acquiring property in about 45 days. So something would have to be figured out within the next 45 days, what that looks like.
I feel like we should do it, but 40,000 just seems like, to me, a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. I do agree with you there. This is typically what we see. We did review this estimate before we sent this to the city. So this is very much so in line of what we would see for something like this, unfortunately.
If I may, Mayor.
Yes.
We had a similar project in another municipality that we had to do this process. But I asked the engineers if they could redesign around it. And in this particular project, it was going to be like $250,000 more dollars to curve around this project.
We would have to build a bridge.
On this project, it'd probably be more than that, because you'd have to build out over the river.
And one of my big concerns is this condemnation. I hate to have to take somebody's property in those situations. Like, of course, it's not a whole lot of property, but it's theirs. And so that's my concern. Do we have a motion from the council? A motion either way?
Move to approve.
Okay, motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All right, then we need a roll call vote. Ms. Lisa.
Yes. Councilmember Ewing,
Yes.
Councilmember Noel,
Yes.
Councilmember Christie,
Reluctantly, yes.
Councilmember Blevins,
Yes.
Councilmember Turnbow,
Yes.
Councilmember Feldhouse.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate you.
We took the vote. We had discussion in between there. Was that enough discussion for everybody? Okay. All right, so, all right. Do we have any announcements in this meeting?
just at the next meeting, we'll start in approximately 5 minutes.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for sitting through the delay. We've had some things that we have needed to get done tonight before this meeting was handled, and Whitney just told me she'd been to the governor all day. That's why she was running late for her presentation. This is the City of Shelbyville's Mayor and City Council study session. We are in our council chambers. It is Tuesday, April 29th, and looking at the clock, we're about, is it 6:22? Is that about right? Okay. And we want to open our agenda for public comments. Do we have any folks signed up for public comment?
Yes, sir, we did. We'll hold on just a second.
Huh?
Get the sheet. Deanna Stackpole.
Good evening.
Hello.
Thank you for allowing me to speak.
You're welcome.
I'm going to be talking on new business B, the Curl property, the 14.77 acre tract. It's up for rezoning from R1 to C2. And I'm a homeowner that's directly behind that property, and my sisters are both here as well, both homeowners behind the property. I have the tract, it's designated R1, and an application was made in 2021 to have it rezoned R4. At that time, the planning committee made an unfavorable recommendation due to the future land use map not allowing for high density use. We feel like the reasons that made this property unsuitable for R4 also apply for rezoning it to C2. This property, as I mentioned, it's surrounded by single-family homes. There's a horse barn behind. We have a few pictures just to kind of show. There's a horse barn behind that's actually on my sister's property, and we have horses back there. So it's, again, to have a commercial plot right down in the middle of that seems to be not harmonious with the surrounding properties. The other thing that we wanted to note is that that property, it seems like it's deeper than it is wide. So we understand that that front part that's right up on 231, we understand it being rezoned to commercial because that's right on the highway. That makes sense. But for us, the 14 acres or almost 15 acres at the back of the property that's surrounded by the horse field and the single family homes, we feel like that's just not suitable to have like a big box store, you know, right there in the middle of all of that. We think that it would lead to significant noise pollution. There's already very little buffer left because of how much of the acreage, there were acres and acres of trees on that property, and almost all of them have been taken out. There's just a little strip left at the back. But as I said, we just believe that this property is more suited to remaining R1 and not being rezoned to commercial. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, our next public comment.
Yes, the next one is Dana Bobo.
Hi, I'm one of the sisters that lives in the property adjacent to the Curl property. And I'm here to reiterate basically what she said. We have lived at this property for 25 years now, over 25 years. We've raised our families there. We still have kids at home. My kids ride horses at the back of our property all the time. And I can't tell you what impact that's going to have a box store and 2 strip malls right up against our fence. It will no longer be safe for her or for my kids to ride their horses back there, I'm sure of it. If you think about garbage trucks coming in and picking up dumpsters in all hours of the day, you know, that's just going to make it unsafe for her to be able to ride safely back there. So that's going to have a huge impact on just our family. I have heard of one other family in our community that lives a few houses down from us that has already put their house up for sale. And we asked specifically, has this property and what's happening over there, has that had an impact on your decision to sell your home? And they said yes. So this is affecting our neighborhood. It's going to be a huge change for us. And so I would just like each of you to really consider not passing this rezoning, please. Thank y'all for your time.
Thank you.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, ladies, for speaking tonight. Okay, with no further public comments, then we'll ask for the next item on our agenda, which is staff reports, and ask our city clerk.
I'm sorry. I was just trying to make certain she kept the photos.
Okay, city manager update, Scott.
Mayor, with your years and the city council commission, I'd like to defer to our regular monthly meeting. To respect the time, and I will provide an update. Right.
Okay. That okay with everyone?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Scott. All right, discussion items. First item is the power board positions. Those come up, from time to time, reappointment to the Shelbyville Power, Water, and Sewer Board. And I'll ask, our city recorder, Ms. Lisa, who handles, those applications, to talk to us a minute.
Yes, sir. You have one opening on your power board coming up, and that seat is currently held by William Cruz. Mr. Cruz is the only applicant that has applied. I only received his application and no others. So we will need to interview him next week before the business meeting. So is 5:30 good to start that interview? Usually I think y'all take about 15 minutes a person, so everybody good with that? So we'll start his interview at 5:30 before the business meeting on the 10th. Oh, sorry, I'm in April. So what's next week? The 8th, May 8th.
Okay, any questions on that? Okay. All right. All right, the next item on our agenda is the strategic planning report. We'll ask our city manager, Mr. Scott Collins, to update us on that.
Thank you, Mayor. Each of the council members has been emailed an electronic copy of the draft for the strategic plan. And I just want to get the will of the council. Do you all feel comfortable with the day that we shared with MTS, or would you prefer to come back and have a mayor and city council draft strategic plan to where staff facilitates it and we hear directly from each and every one of you all, and then we'll do a new plan?
What's your pleasure? Council, do you want to have a special meeting to discuss it? Or would you rather? Of course, you can always contact Scott independently. Anybody?
I'm looking at the draft that they sent. I mean, what is the main point of the plan? Are we trying to get out just those priority projects that they had, the highest, medium, and low? I feel like the mission and vision that we got to, we weren't even really settled on those. Does that have to be in there?
And again, this is a draft, so whatever the mayor and council directs, MTS will modify.
But we need to let Scott know one way or the other, either through a meeting or on one-on-one with him, to let him know that if we need, we're okay with it, we need to change things or whatever. And that's your pleasure. They can always talk to you about a meeting later if they want to think about it.
Yes, sir.
Is that okay with everybody?
It's always okay.
Okay, is that all right? All right, let's move forward then. All right, the next item is under discussion items is RFQ, the retail recruitment. And Scott, would you update us on that? I think I've seen some things changing there.
Yes, sir. Initially, we had presented a renewal of contract with retail traffic. Then that was deferred due to the decision, so the pending decision on whether or not to rejoin the partnership. Didn't want to double dip.
Right.
Well, since the decision was made not to rejoin the partnership, we were prepared to present back retail strategies, but after doing a little digging, there are, and hearing what the council has made comments at various times, there are companies out there that do direct recruitment on behalf of Shelbyville. Retail strategies has been an excellent service, but due to a contract with another city, they have a non-compete clause, so they cannot actively go out and shake somebody's hand and say, come to Shelbyville. So with mayor and council's permission, we would like to defer any action on this and then bring back some proposals for the May 8th business meeting. And if you're not comfortable, if you need more time, I should be able to have all the information to you by Monday of next week. But if you need more time, we can defer it a little bit later.
Yeah.
Good idea.
That's a good idea. Okay.
And just real quick, in addition to retail recruitment, I mean, since we're not doing the partnership, we need to be thinking about tourism as well. What are we doing on tourism as a city? And possibly even economic development as well. What's our strategy? I mean, retail's one piece of the puzzle, but there's other pieces we need to be working on at the same time.
I agree. Go ahead, Tom.
Tourism is a little more challenging because the State Department of Tourism, South Central Tourism, all of them, they recognize the partnership as the destination management group for tourism.
Get that for first.
It's a three-letter acronym.
We get that for first.
So in other words, if they're kind of the contact, they get the first piece of the pie, so to speak.
Well put, yes, ma'am.
But Shelbyville is still, yeah. So we, Councilman Feldhouse, I believe, at one of our past meetings, spoke about maybe having a committee about tourism that they'd had once before in the city of Shelbyville. That's one thing for us to think about, Scott, naming a normal. Economic development, Scott, myself, members of the council, some of our department heads are all a part of that. You've got a group that works on that, and they've been doing a great job, I think. Retail Strategy's been doing a good job on retail recruitment. But tourism, I think we might think about that committee, if y'all think that's a good idea. Or we can just, we could probably part-time hire somebody for tourism. I don't know if it'd be a full-time position, but we could think about it.
Pleasure, yeah.
Okay? Okay. Anybody else have any thoughts? Now, that's just my thoughts that I'm throwing out for now. Okay, let's think about that one, okay? And we'll give Scott till what, the 8th? When you'll kind of give more information about that retail recruitment?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Is that good with everyone? Okay, thank you. All right, old business. Ordinances, second and final reading and public hearing. A, an ordinance of the Shelbyville City Council to amend the Shelbyville zoning map by approving the rezoning of approximately 4.68 acres plus or minus acres owned by Pleasant M. England, addressed as State Route 437, referenced in Bedford County records as tax map 69, parcel 31, tract 2, and attached as Exhibit A and Exhibit B, final plat, from residential 2, R2, medium, low-density residential to commercial 2, C2, general business, and repealing any ordinance or portion of ordinance in conflict therewith. Everybody familiar with that tract 2 off of 437? There's a tract 1 on one side of it, a tract 2. If not, Tom can sure bring us up to date. Tom.
Yes, sir.
Thomas Batchelor, our planning director. Anybody have any comments or questions about that? All right. Being on the planning committee, our Councilman Blevins and myself, we have gone back and forth on these things. Any questions about it?
The track that these two ladies spoke on, right?
Sir?
No,
This is not just about
this
this.
is where he gonna build his corporate office,
Oh, okay.
park his trucks.
Okay. All right. Do I have a motion to approve the amending of this Shelbyville zoning map from R2 to C2?
No, we're just talking.
This is a study session.
Huh?
This is a study session.
Yeah.
Well, we get discussion after we get the motions.
So we don't vote.
Oh, that's right, we don't vote tonight, I'm sorry.
You're jumping ahead.
I'm sorry. We've had too many things going on.
It's gone.
Too many voices running sideways. Okay, so just think about that one, okay? Let me give you some thoughts on it right quick. Track 1 is residential there, that's on the left side of 437, which is come off 231. On the right side is this track 2, and it's gonna be commercial is what they're looking at. But there was some discussion about what was going to be there at the planning commission. So those are things to think about, okay? All right, let's move to B. No votes. Yeah, that's good. An ordinance of the city, Shelbyville City Council to amend table of contents, Article 5, zoning districts of the Shelbyville Municipal Zoning Ordinance by updating table of contents, Article 5, Section 5 and 5.1 classification of districts, Article 5, Section 5.8 planned unit development, and repeal all previous ordinance or part of an ordinance in conflict therewith. Mr. Bachelor has been over that with us multiple times. Any questions on that one? All right, let's just move to C. An ordinance of the Shelbyville City Council to amend City of Shelbyville design standards by updating Section 3E architectural guidelines and Section 3H multifamily residential developments, repeal all previous ordinance or part of an ordinance in conflict herewith. Any questions on that? Tom's right here with us, he would need it. Okay, all right, let's move to D. An ordinance to make amendments to the adopted budget ordinance as amended of the City of Shelbyville, Tennessee, various funds for the fiscal year 24 and fiscal year 2024, 2025, the period ending June the 30th, 2025. And our city treasurer, Ms. Kay Parker, is here. Do we have any questions? Anyone? Okay, let's move to new business ordinances. A, an ordinance of the Shelbyville City Council to amend the Shelbyville zoning map by approving the rezoning of approximately 8.75 plus or minus acres owned by Pleasant, England, addressed as 138 McDale Lane, referenced in Bedford County tax records as 69 parcel 31 tract 1, and attached as Exhibit A, Exhibit B, final plat from residential 2, R2, medium, low density residential, to residential 4, R4, high density residential, and repealing any ordinance or portion of ordinance in conflict therewith. Again, that's the residential property across the 437th of that, tract 1. Questions?
Yeah.
Tom?
Yeah, we deferred this when you get more information, and hopefully our favorite planner has more information tonight.
Remind me what the application was, and I do have the applicant here as well as the developer, and they have additional information on the concept.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna see a concept plan, even though it's not binding, I thought they were at least gonna present.
Yes, and then the additional information.
What's, I think, the concept.
Oh, okay, walk with me, that's fine.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Morning, my name's Ed Kilgore, here to represent Pleasant, England, and the Kilgore family, which we are part of the owners of this property. I appreciate y'all deferring it last time. We felt like we didn't give y'all enough information about why we were asking for the R4. What he's passing out is the reason we were asking for the R4 is we're going to we would like to develop a high-end apartment complex there. We feel like Shelbyville is due for something like that. We're looking at 124 units, modern apartment complex, and you can see some of the pictures. That's what we have in mind of building. A modern clubhouse. We can talk to Scott about how he'll be helping us. He'll be our engineer for this. But just to talk to you a little bit about us in general. We've been in the apartment business for over 40 years. Of course, I haven't, but my family has. Yeah, we're looking at this as a very long-term investment. It's not something we're looking to build, sell, anything like that. We have properties in Florida. We gave you a brochure, I think, of the apartments we have, which are 150 units in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, that we've owned for over 25 years. We will manage all the operations of it. We will have, a maintenance the rent intake, all the leasing will be done in-house. It's a lot, like I said, it's a long-term investment. We're looking at an 18 to $22 million project there. No government subsidies at all on this project. We'll hire everybody local contractors, local engineers, supplies bought local. And then, of course, we'll have community involvement as we move forward. And that's the main reason we'd asked for the delays, where y'all could see why we were asking for the R4. We feel like it's something Shelbyville could use and needs. So that's why we're putting this, get the handout where you could see what the project would look like, what we're looking to do. Y'all have any questions for me?
Questions, council?
I got one.
Yes, sir.
I've been talking to Josh about it. You want to do R4 high density residential. Okay, this is nice. And I think I've seen your property in Tuscaloosa.
Yes, sir.
According to my key man here, we can approve this, and this is nice.
Yes.
But you walk out that door right there, there's no guarantees this is what you're gonna do.
Well, we'll have to work closely with the planning commission and the state to make sure they approve anything that goes forward. We'll work hand in hand with them, and they can't approve anything that.
Yeah, I'm fine with it if this is what it's gonna be.
That's what we're planning to do, because we feel it'll set us apart in Shelbyville if we're the high end. And doing 124 units, it's not 250 units. We feel like it's something that Shelbyville could definitely use. We want it to be the apartment headquarters of Shelbyville. When they think of Shelbyville Apartments, it's here.
But understand, Shelbyville become the subsidized capital of the world of Tennessee.
We're not in that business.
Yeah, we got that.
Any other questions?
I understand what you're saying, yes, sir.
Okay, any other questions?
Access to the parcel, is there any chance you'd be willing to put your main access off McDale instead of 5,000?
What we'd like to put on McDale is, like a gate that would open and close where your garbage can come out of there. If the fire department had to come, anything like that. But we would like the main entrance to come off 437. I think the state's done studies where we have a entrance there now that's already been approved by the state. But we'll have to work with the state on that. If there's turning lanes, things like that, those things we'll have to do. And we'll have to work with the planning commission and y'all to make sure we do it right. Because like you said, it's a long-term investment for us. I have 2 kids and we want to give them. It's definitely.
Put that up, that'd be a good addition to the bypass.
Yes, sir. We think it will. And we also think if you put high density right there, it'll help with more commercial coming to the area, because it gets you a lot of people living there and not a big space.
And TDOT will have to approve entrance and exits and all those kind of things.
Yes,
when they do the site plan and all those kind of things, correct?
Yes, sir. And since we've also are adopting, we're hopefully we'll be adopting the corridor studies as well, and that will have an effect.
Any questions? Any questions?
Anybody else need a copy of this?
Thank you for the publication. We appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, B, an ordinance of the Shelbyville City Council to amend the Shelbyville zoning map by approving the rezoning of a vacant parcel, approximately 14.77 plus or minus acres, owned by Curl Properties LLC, addressed as 231 North and referenced in Bedford County tax records as tax map 69, parcel 4, P-0 or /0, forward, track 1, and attached as Exhibit A and Exhibit B, final plat from residential 1, R1, low density residential, to commercial 2, C2, general business, and repealing any ordinance or portion of ordinance in conflict therewith. Questions? We have public comments on this tonight.
No questions, but since we do have public here, maybe we should have Tom at least present these 2 tracks.
All right, sure.
With these 2 tracks, I can place or speak on both B and C at the same time period.
All right.
As you can see, let's see which way it will not. As you can see, there's track 1, which is a 14.77 acres, and also there's opposition for this one, and then there's the track 2. This Turn this on, and actually, I will go to the zoning history. As you can see, this is the parcel in question. This is a 2009 map, and there's a portion of the track 2 which is split zone. It was part of the city. Most of it was outside of the city until it was annexed into the city in 2022. This has a long history. There was a rezoning attempt at that time, but it received an unfavorable recommendation in 2021, November 30th. And that ordinance did not advance forward to the city council. Then there was an attempt to turn it into a PUD. That was back in June 17th of 2022. It was withdrawn or not advanced forward by the applicant and the owner. Later on in 2022, there was opposition on this particular development as well. So our zoning code, when properties are annexed in, if there is no rezoning application for it, it automatically comes in as R1. So these two parcels are R1. I'll go back to this one, and actually I will go to.
Would you just say these two parcels are what?
They are zone R1.
Well, track two is
It's
already,
split zone R2, R1.
track 2 is already C2, isn't it?
No,
Not yet.
it was never rezoned.
Okay.
And so it has a split zone of R2 and R1. The split zoning part, the R2, was never documented, so, except for on our map, so it's not really clear in any of these
I
actual.
knew you had done some
plats.
research on that.
Yes, sir. So in our future land use map, this is the Gateway Corridor area. And the appropriate zoning for this is, commercial is one of the appropriate zoning. And let me just jump to the compatibility part of it, because I think that's more important, especially with the single family to the west here.
Okay.
There is a single family to the north. All of these areas around here surrounding are in the county. This particular parcel is a non-conforming residential, and it also has a commercial use to it. And that is directly abutting the subject properties, tract 1 and 2. And this was already brought up about the removal of a lot of the buffering between the land uses. And I did an analysis for compatibility, and there is a disparity between the land use. You have the residential to the rear and the commercial. During site development, usually whenever there's a difference between the land uses, there's requirements for buffering and screening, and that's the way that it can be mitigated. But as far as the zoning, the rezoning application goes, it meets our future land use map. It'll meet our zoning ordinance as well. And therefore, staff recommended the rezoning as well and supported by planning commission.
Just a minute, Tom,
Yes.
go back to the photo of the tree line and the property behind, back further than that. Right there.
Yes.
All right, the property, you folks that spoke tonight, are you in the county or in the city?
We're in the county.
You're in the county. All right, but these two properties are in the city, right, Tom?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the city-county line is the back of that property.
Yes, sir.
Am I correct?
That's correct, sir.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
And this is also the property to the north, this single-family residence that's back at the trees is also in the county.
Okay.
And the city boundary is here, and then the subject parcel.
Okay. Everybody know where that property is. If you go past the bypass, going toward Murfreesboro, it's on the left-hand side of the road, if you know about where it is. The back part of the property there, that line, that county-city line, has there been any kind of a negotiation that maybe you folks could buy part of that back property?
We made that clear to, Carl that if he was willing to sell, we would love to buy the back property.
As did Mr. Hodges, who lives next on the north side of it.
Yes.
So it has been offered.
But this company that's wanting to, develop it, they've owned it for a while?
Years now.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
I think the final, let me see if I can go to, when it was Briggsy Way, it was owned by, a number of,
Okay.
there were about
Okay.
5
Okay.
owners.
Developers.
And sometime, I want to say it was in 2020, maybe early 2023,
Okay.
it transferred over.
Is this where girls build up the property?
Yeah.
On the field?
That's correct.
Right there beside Tommy Hodges.
And I'm not sure if Mr. Hodges knows about this at all. Johnny Reed, our neighbor beside us, didn't know anything about all of this, so we informed him about it. I'm curious to know, because I'm surprised Mr. Hodges is not here.
Of course, we won't vote on tonight, but we want to discuss it and study it. Anybody else have questions for Tom?
Did I hear you say that if it is on commercial,
Yes.
you have residential to the back, a buffer will be required?
Screening and buffering is required between the 2 different uses, yes.
I often wondered why Tommy Hodges didn't buy it. He got as much money away for you.
And then I have, Scott, if you want to come up and speak a little bit.
Good evening, Scott.
Good evening, Scott St. John, St. John Engineering, here representing Curl Properties. And I'm here mainly for questions. I did just want to reiterate a couple points. Yes, there has been tree removal and field placed. Curls understand that screening and buffering is required, and they will meet all screening and buffering requirements. Their request is for commercial. As many of you know, they have been approached by some major retailers looking at that property since they first acquired it back several years ago. When you saw the layouts of a residential PUD, things have changed. Traffic counts have gone up. It is definitely leaning towards commercial. So they've been approached by commercial retailers, and that is their desire at this point, is to develop it as commercial. And it does meet land use plan as Tom has mentioned. So again, be able to answer any questions if needed.
Question? Our next item will deal with track 1 there. Okay. Track 1 is, of course, right on 231 right there. I mean, track 2, I'm sorry. Track 2 is right on 231. Any other questions for Tom? Okay, Tom, we may need you on this next one, we'll see.
Sir.
All right, an ordinance of the Shelbyville City Council to amend the Shelbyville zoning map by approving the rezoning of approximately 7.23 plus or minus acres owned by Curl Properties LLC, addressed as 231 North and referenced in Bedford County tax records as tax map 69 and parcel 4, track 2, attached as Exhibit A, Exhibit B, final plat, and the split zone vacant. Is that supposed to be partial? From residential 1, R1, low density residential, and residential 2, R2, medium low density residential, both of those to C2 or C2 general business, and repealing any ordinance or portion of ordinance in conflict therewith. That track 2 is right on 231 right there. Any questions for Tom? They back up one to the other, both of them owned by the same people.
No, this is basically for his office space, his commercial office.
No, that's on the last page.
Yeah, this is for commercial development out that way, and we've had folks looking for a number of different commercial businesses to come to that area, correct, Scott? Grocery or supermarkets or things like that, other items. This is right on the 231 North. This track 2 is just right on the highway there. So, any questions for Tom on this one? Okay, let's move forward then. D, an ordinance of the Shelbyville City Council to amend the Shelbyville zoning map by approving the rezoning Just let me note just a moment, 7.23 and 14.77 on those last two would give you a little over 22 acres, right?
That's correct, sir.
Okay, if it was all combined.
Yes, sir.
All right, an ordinance of the D is the ordinance of the Shelbyville City Council to amend the Shelbyville zoning map by approving the rezoning of approximately .41 plus or minus acre vacant parcel owned by Wayne Neese, addressed as West Lane Street and referenced in Bedford County tax records as tax map 88E Group A, Partial 1, and attached as Exhibit A from residential 3, R3, medium density residential, to residential 3A, R3A, medium high density residential, and repealing any ordinance or portion of ordinance in conflict therewith. Questions where that is, and it's only 0.41 acres. That's already in, that's a residential all rounded, isn't it? Tom?
Actually, I can go to the, let's see here. There's residential R3 surrounding it on multiple sides. Even though this one is R3, it's actually functioning at the land use as a market.
Okay.
So it's more consistent with the C2 zoning. And then you have C2 that surrounds all the way around there.
Got a rough idea about how many units they're gonna put there, or they're wanting to put there?
Barely, they might be able to get 3 in.
That's what I was
It's
thinking.
very small.
I thought it was gonna be
And-
very, very minimal, yeah.
Yes, and it would act as a good buffer between here, this commercial, land use, even though it's not
Okay. Okay.
residential next door.
Any other questions for Tom?
Is that gonna meet the new 30% green space?
I need to correct myself on that because this one will not. Because this application came in before we made our changes to it. And I misspoke at the planning commission on that. But even though, see, this is the maximum density it's possible, but when, this is gross density.
Does that not take effect for the site plan? Do we not look at the 30% on the site plan, not on the zoning?
The zoning has it as, let's see, well, this is the older one, that shows that, but
I mean, when we added our 30%, that should hit all R3.
When they bring in their site plan. it
Right.
doesn't affect them.
Yeah, for site development is different from the
Right,
rezon.
but I mean, they've not brought in the site plan yet, so they should be held to
No.
30%.
And you can see
Okay.
that it's only gross density is 3.57, and usually, you still have to account for parking as well.
That's not even, that's less than half acre. God, what are they gonna do, build it straight up, just like that?
They could.
It's not gonna be tall, skinny houses like that.
Yeah.
As long as they're below 80
That's
feet,
amazing.
is that correct? The height is 80 feet?
Well, I don't know if they want to build it, that high because, they wouldn't be able to use the upper space.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Tom?
They're riding the roads, and if they see an empty spot with grass on it, they want to put something on it.
Yes.
I'm real, half an acre. Whatever.
Questions, comments? Thank you.
Was that a favorable by the planning commission?
Yes, sir, that was, unanimous.
Yes. Okay, let's move to resolutions. A resolution of the Shelbyville City Council to adopt the Shelbyville Corridor Access Management Study dated March 2025 for United States 231, US, that's right. State Route 82, State Route 10, collectively US 231, United States 41A, State Route 16, collectively US 41A, and State Route 437, Shelbyville Bypass, also known as State Route 437. Question? We went through that corridor study. Everybody clear on that? Okay. Business items. Surplus. Here she comes. Miss Lori Sadler, our purchasing department director. A says surplus.
Yes, sir. We got two categories for our surplus, this meeting.
3 vehicles to list on Gov Deals. It's a 2013, well, two 2013 Ford Interceptors and one 2013 Nissan Maxima. The Maxima was purchased with drug funds. Those proceeds would have to go back to the drug fund. But the other two would go back to the general fund. The other category I have in surplus is for scrap parts and metal. One of the police vehicles, a 2012 Charger, there was a wiring harness melted, not feasible to repair or for resale. And then a Ferris mower for the cemetery. They would also like to keep parts off of it and then recycle the remaining metal because the parts are valuable to them, what they can take off of it. And it is not operable. There are more cars out here than what you're seeing on this list. As they become ready, I'll be bringing more back in the next month or two, probably. Give me 3 months.
Okay. Questions about that?
Lord, will they go on, those sitting out there now go on gov deals?
If these 3 will that are on this list.
If the ones that sitting, that
3
you hadn't got to yet.
Yes,
That
those
be gov deals too.
eventually. Or we possibly, we don't rush to do this because sometimes we can repurpose vehicles to other departments, things like that. So, and it also takes, especially the police department, it takes them a while to decommission their vehicles. So it's a process.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is a process.
Thank you.
Everything's government is. Any other comments or questions? Okay, all right. Lori, it looks like the next item is authorization to let a request for proposals for brush grinding.
Yes, and this staff summary is a little long, but I wanted to put the TCA on here, especially for the new council members, because I haven't brought a request for an RFP to you all. I think it's been a couple of years, but by state law, when I let bids, there's an invitation to bid, there's a request for proposal, and there's a request for qualifications. Those are the 3 main categories that I work in. State law changed 18 years ago to where the city council has to approve an RFP, the letting of an RFP. So what that means is that for RFPs, and I'm taking just a little time, especially for the new folks, but it means you don't go by price alone, basically. Part of it is based on service, and I did go into it in detail on the staff summary if you want to read the TCA. But RFPs are basically used when there can be more than one solution to a situation, and maybe even a different solution, an orange instead of an apple. So I can't put tight bid specs on something like that. So I'm going to ask Buck if you have any questions. This particular RFP is for brush grinding and debris removal services. And this is because we can no longer burn anything with leaves on it. So this is the first time we will have let this. We found, Buck and his department found an RFP that Spring Hill led. And we're adjusting it to our application, but that's what this is. And what this basically means is if you authorize me to let the RFP, we let it, and then it comes back to you all with the details, and then eventually for approval. Hopefully.
Anybody have any questions for Lori or our?
So is this for brush that you collect, or is this people are gonna still bring their brush to the burn pit and then we're gonna grind it up?
Both.
Both?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the only place that you can burn a branch with a leaf on it is where you took that branch down. So we can still burn the trunk of the tree and everything that don't have it, but the brush is bulky and takes up a lot of space. So we This was a budgeted item that we put in last year's budget. Lori educated me, the difference between professional service and what we had to do here, so, I claim responsibility for not having this done sooner, but we tried to put this out and get a 2-year time span, so whenever we got full, because we can't tell them every second month, we want you to come in and chip. It just depends. If we have a big storm, we might need them in sooner than that. So this gives us that flexibility to be able to do that and have somebody on call for the next 2 years.
So we accept brush still. City residents, if they have brush, they can still bring it to the burn pit.
As long as they pull the trash out of it and everything before they bring it up, and Mr. Key's pretty good with that. But if you have trash in it, we won't accept it.
But what's the brush pickup week?
What's that?
The brush pickup week?
That's staying, everything's gonna stay the same. It's how we have to get rid of the material we pick up.
Does the power company still have a brush grinder where they go around and pick down trees and they?
They have a small one. This would be a tub grinder. Okay, so they come in and usually these tub grinders, they'll have a crane on there that'll pick it up, put it in the tub grinder and run it through. Our pile, if we tried to run everything through that, it would probably take us a month versus a week for what they can do with it.
Good questions. Anybody else? Thank you, both of you.
The other thing, the tub grinder, if you thought about, hey, why don't the city buy one? You're looking at $600,000. So. I didn't bring it to you, man.
Thank you. Thank you for letting us know that. That's good information. And that's because of the change that we just can't.
The state kind of laid down the law, of course, and, there was a couple complaints about smoke and they came up there and we probably have one of the only active burn pits in the state of Tennessee. So it is, we've gotten by for quite a while and now they're cracking down on it. They think the leaves and everything else creates more of the smoke that you see.
Yeah.
And so.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. All right. The next item is purchasing bid items. RFQ, professional services for multi-purpose soccer complex. And Scott or Lori or Trevor, Lori, you taking care of that?
I am. We, this involved an RFQ, which is request for qualifications, which is what we have to do for professional services. I.e. architectural and engineering in this application for the new multi-purpose soccer field complex. We sent out a request for qualifications we mailed out some, I put it on vendor registry, which would have reached close to 100 firms across the state of Tennessee and beyond. We had 9 submissions received. I won't read all of these, but you see the list of the 9 firms that responded. We had a 5-member evaluation committee for this project, made up of Councilmember Turnbow, Parks Board Member Mary Grace Phillips, City Manager Collins, Parks and Rec Director Trevor Freitas, and myself. We reviewed the 9 submittals and scored based on requirements of the RFQ document. The top 4 firms were invited for in-person interviews. Those 4 firms were Kimley Horn of Nashville, Lowe's Design of Nashville, Reagan Smith, Murfreesboro, and Wald Architects and Engineers, Brentwood, Tennessee. These interviews were last Monday. We spent an hour plus with each firm. We had a scoring system again that all the members filled out their scorecards individually. And Wald was the number 1 first place on the scoring. Close second was Kimley Horn. And what I just handed you is because it came in after 4 o'clock today. Okay. But this project is a $3.27 million project. The LPRF grant documentation estimated that we would spend somewhere between 10 to 15% on engineering. Their proposal came in at $212,750 lump sum fee, and you can tell from all the detail what all that will involve, which is 6.5%. And Trevor would be here tonight, but he's at a meeting, and I called him before this meeting, and he was ecstatic. He was ecstatic because that will free up some more of our grant funds, hopefully.
Good.
So the 6.5% was a very nice surprise.
Excellent. Thank you for giving that report, Lord. Any questions for Ms. Lori?
Are we gonna have enough money in there for Bobby's bathroom?
Hey, you say that really?
That's the question of the year.
It says right there, lie, Bobby's bathroom, that's all. It says stand.
And this will be on your business meeting agenda. And if you have any questions, I think any member of the evaluation committee could enlighten you.
Very thankful for that
Yeah,
grant,
let the soccer
the grant
people
that we
have.
got for this, yeah. Soccer fields are needed, and we're thankful for the grant that we received. Thank you, Ms. Lori.
Yes, sir.
Okay, next item, appointments, Public Works Committee, and I have no idea.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I don't have a grade, but I have to do a little bit of research. We had a public works committee back about 2, maybe 3 years ago, more like 3 years ago. It consisted of 5 members, and at that time, it was 2 council members and 3 citizens. I think Ms. Christie was on it, but the others, no. Okay, I don't remember who was on it, so I have to go back and do some research. But Buck has a few things coming up, and he's asked me to try to put the committee back before you for appointments so that he can present to them, and then they can make their recommendations back up to the council.
Very good.
That way his presentation to the committee would be a little more in-depth than the council, but the committee would have council members on it doing research and stuff. So I'll do my research and you'll have a better explanation of what we need next week.
All right.
Also, that power board appointment will be on the appointments after the interview. So,
Thank you so much, Lisa Smith, our city reporter. Other business, do we have other business tonight?
I had a couple.
All right.
A couple of amendments have come up that I'm gonna need to add to the budget amendments. Of course, they'll have to have 2 readings,
Right.
but I'd like to add the first reading to the next week.
Okay.
And then also, Winnet Associates is supposed to have a proposal to us by the end of this week to conduct the audit for this year. So if that could be added to the agenda.
Thank you. Mr. Parker or?
And what about our
treasurer?
benefits committee? Are we still moving forward and looking at that for the insurance for next year?
Well, we're just 60 days or so out.
No, yeah, not for the budget year, for the calendar year.
When you say,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
We've not established that yet, but.
We start moving forward with.
Yeah, I've had, and probably you brought this, I've had, I don't know, 2 or 3 people ask me about, and Henry brought it up, about moving them over on the Tennessee Consolidated Time System. If you ain't gonna cost a fortune, I think they're ready to go. I got my thoughts about how, I know it won't be, sure it won't be easy because I was on it. And it's years of service and all that comes into play.
The committee has a big.
Defined benefit type plan.
What, Henry?
Our pension committee meets in the next.
it's not this coming, maybe it's gonna be, I think it's the 5th. It's on Monday.
Monday, this Monday.
It's gonna be Monday.
If it ain't gonna be a big deal, we ought to look at it.
Health insurance, CCRA.
Okay. Very good. Very good.
It says in the
What the employees need, whatever they're asking.
benefits committee, study both.
Yeah, we put her in the same committee, I guess. I mean, they both are benefit related.
Yeah.
We don't have to, we need to establish one.
He's on it. He's on it.
He's not.
Yeah. Henry's on it.
I'm not on the
He
picture.
is not on the picture. No, I.
No, I'm not. Yeah, because she's.
Announcements, other announcements, I will ask our city recorder if she doesn't mind to read the announcements, please.
Yes, sir. City administration offices and public works will be closed on Monday, May 26th, in observation of Memorial Day. Monday's trash will be picked up on Tuesday, May 27th, with Tuesday's regular route. Please have it out by 6 a.m.
Okay, thank you. All right, and do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting? Do I have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.